Hey guys, and welcome to NA Turbo. I'm Richard. This is my first YouTube channel, so giving it a go, and I hope you guys actually like it. Bet you're thinking, yeah, there's loads of car channels out there at the moment, and here's another one to add to the list. But I like to think mine's going to be slightly different than some of the others that's out there. How, you're probably asking? Well, I currently run 3 cars. One as a daily, 2 as projects, and like everybody else at the moment, my financial situation is quite stretched. So my channel is going to be different in the restos I do on the projects are going to be done for the least amount of money possible, with a view to keeping them on the road because I drive them, and not always having to be the best of effects, but just to keep them mobile, get them through MOTs, and basically so I can have fun in them. So a bit more about the cars themselves. As I mentioned, I've got 3 currently on the fleet. My first we'll come back to a little later on because that's a modern lease car, and I know it's not a favourite with a lot of people going down the old lease route, but I have my own reasons for that, which we'll come back to later on. Back to sort of the interesting ones, the 2 project cars. I've got firstly my baby, which is a 94 Corrado VR6 2.9. I got that car probably about 9 years ago now, in bits, and slowly converted it from a broken automatic into a 5-speed manual car. And it's sort of evolved as time's gone on. Had a few whoopsies with it. For example, rear end in the back of a Passat probably wasn't the best thing to do in the world. But nevertheless, she lives on, and I've come back from that. But again, used all my own parts and rebuilt sort of the damaged sections. So that's going to feature quite heavily at the moment. That car's actually running and has full MOT. I'll do some walk around the fleets as we go along, but the second car that's probably going to feature the most heavily is going to be my Toyota Supra. So it's a 1990 Mark III Super Turbo manual, which is quite rare, specifically in manual form. This car's got quite an interesting story to it, which we'll go into again in a bit more depth a little later on, but needless to say, we rescued it from being abandoned, and sort of brought it back to life, and then it got abandoned again. So it's going to feature quite heavily at the moment. I've got some content around repairing the rear arches, which is another video that I'll put up probably a bit before we actually do the walk around of the cars, just so you can sort of see a bit of what the channel is going to be about and decide whether you like it or not. So that's going to feature quite heavily. That's also the one that needs the most TLC at the moment, and is off the road because it's got a water leak from its core plugs. So that's going to feature quite heavily, and look at getting that back on the road hopefully by sort of September time. So you'll see some content around that. Other things really, it's going to be just sort of around how I do the repairs, what we do to the cars, what the least amount you can get away with doing in terms of keeping the cars running and safe, for the least amount of money really. I came from being a poor student originally, so started off with a Mark II Golf and sort of worked my way up. But again, anybody that's been a student out there knows running cars on student budgets is quite hard, and it's nothing really that's sort of gone away as time's gone on, unfortunately. But needless to say, it means you get quite creative and effective at doing things. So that's that. Bit about me. Well, not much to say really. I'm a 35-year-old guy into cars. I work in the motor trade as my job, but that still doesn't put me off cars. And I still want more of them at the end of the day. It's just something I love doing. And especially since lockdown and everything's happened, it's something that's kept me extremely sane. Working on the cars and having something to actually focus on has been really good. And at the end of the day, I take them out and they put a smile on my face. So that's the reason behind it. Anyway, I've probably droned on long enough in this video, but just want to sort of introduce myself and the channel and hope that you guys are going to enjoy it as we go along. Just want to say before I sign off a big thank you to Ed from Twin Camp and Steph from iDriver Classics. I sort of randomly emailed them asking them for their advice in helping set up channels because I watch their content quite a lot and it's brilliant. And again, that's kept me sane during lockdown as well. So just a big thanks to them, really. Like and subscribe to their channels if you can, because they are fantastic. And I'll hope you'll like and subscribe to mine as well. But I shall sign off now. So thank you for listening and see you all soon.